My name is TJ, and this is a story about a poster. Every time I opened the door to my room, I would see this poster. Being stuck at home made me look at this poster a lot more. It's a poster of Steve Jobs with the phrase, "Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do," overlaid on top. The phrase is from Apple's iconic Think Different ad campaign, the one that honors people who have changed the world.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
When Steve Jobs died in 2001, I watched Casey Neistat's tribute video and felt moved. It was a short film about Casey and his older brother getting the first iPhones in New York City back in 2007, with an updated ending from 2011. Here's a little snippet of that.
And we are calling it iPhone.
We're on our way to wait in line for the iPhone. Our journey begins here in Amsterdam.
I never got a Cabbage Patch Kid when I was little. Never had a Furby and didn't get a Nintendo until you could buy them at a yard sale. My ship had finally come in, and Steve Jobs was the captain. Our plan was as follows: leave Amsterdam, fly to Lisbon for a 1-hour layover, 6.5 more hours into Newark, New Jersey, where our chauffeur awaits.
As Casey watches various internet videos, I'm getting concerned.
Van's concerns were warranted. Reports from New York spoke of lines with hundreds of people in them. And we still hadn't chosen our location. We've just landed in the United States. The iPhone comes out in less than 22 hours. We're looking good. Is there anybody waiting in line?
No, not right now. You want to start? Line right up. He'll be right behind you.
We can be line pioneers.
All right, great. We'll be right back with our tents.
Thank you. First iPhone in America.
First line in America.
First one sold.
Go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Listen to the steel rails humming. That's a hobo's lullaby. Oh, 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 oh. Do not think about tomorrow. Let tomorrow come and go.
At the time, I couldn't help but to wonder, what was it that enabled Steve Jobs to create the tools that empowered so many creative people around the world to do their work? So I picked up his biography, hoping that his journey would inspire me to discover my own. In the month that followed, I learned about his rise and fall, and then rise again. I learned that he was kind of a hippie, and that he can be mean and callous to people, but that he was one of the key figures behind the animation studio Pixar success, in addition to Apple. I learned that without his vision and drive, it's doubtful whether the world will be where it is today in terms of technology and the products that are so integral to our lives. All in all, the book was a great read, filled with moments of triumph, failure, redemption, adventure, and humor. However, as the years passed by, all those details faded away, leaving only the bits that really stuck out. As I revisited the book, I realized that what I took away from it was all about one specific mindset that Jobs had. I remember reading quotes like, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There's no reason not to follow your heart." And of course, this one. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. Rather than me trying to summarize this philosophy, Steve Jobs himself said it better in an interview with Santa Clara Valley Historical Association back in 1995.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world. Try not to bash into the walls too much. Try to have a nice family life. Have fun. Save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
Embrace it, change it, make your mark upon it. I was inspired, I was gung-ho, and I was ready to make my mark. Except I didn't know where to even start. Steve said to follow my heart, but my heart didn't know what it wanted. How can I put my effort towards something if I didn't know what that was in the first place? Turns out I would stumble upon precisely the right thing to do. While I was feeling stuck, I wanted to have a way to remind myself of this mindset. So I decided that I should put up a poster with this exact phrase. An exhaustive search online rendered no results. Nothing. No one was making Steve Jobs posters with this exact message on it. Having decided to embrace the Jobs mindset, I said, "F it, I'll make my own." Didn't know how to make posters? Doesn't matter, I'll learn it. How does anyone go about learning anything anyway? You gotta start somewhere. So I started with a simple search term, how to make a poster in Google. And soon I found out that one way was to design a poster in Photoshop, and then take that file to a local print shop to have it printed. So I downloaded an old copy of Photoshop and found a photo of Steve Jobs online and started learning. After watching a few videos on YouTube, I was able to navigate the software. And after a few more hours of watching, tinkering, searching, watching, and more tinkering, voila, I made a poster. But that poster wasn't this one I have on the wall. That poster wasn't that good. The text floated near the bottom, the typography was boring, and the poster was frankly just meh. I asked myself, what should I do? Should I A, print it, B, give it up and not put up anything, or C, do something about it? I chose C, to do something about it. And that something turned out to be continuing to work on the design. But rather than letting myself hit the wall repeatedly, the wall being my limited ability at the time, I decided to push the wall further backward. I said, hey, I'm gonna give this 3 days and see if I can learn whatever I needed to learn to make a poster that I can stand looking at for a long time. It wasn't going to be a professional poster, but I thought that if I put my mind to it, after 3 days, it'll be a better one for sure, even if it's only marginally better. So that commitment led me to doing research, first online and later to the local library. I read chapters from a few books that seemed to be relevant and watched more tutorials on how to execute the techniques in Photoshop. 1 day passed, then 2, then 3. I managed to crash Photoshop a few times, felt frustrated a few times, and spent hours upon hours reading and practicing. I discovered the basics of typography, alignment, visual hierarchy, and a bunch more things that I actually found very interesting. After 3 days, I stopped working on the file and had it printed. I brought the poster home, careful not to smudge the damp ink. By then, I realized that I was fascinated by graphic design. Whether the poster was perfect or not was not the point anymore. Now I just wanted to learn more about design. Quite simply put, I thought to myself, this is so cool, I'm going to do more. So I started other projects building on top of the skills I was acquiring. For example, after hearing that a family friend was starting a business, I volunteered to design a company logo for them. The same process repeated itself. I would take on a challenge, set a deadline, absorb as much resources as I can, and learn new things. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of hours spent at my desk working away, trying one thing after another. The more I worked, the more I learned, and through this I was moving forward. The more I invested in this process, the more I liked it. The more I liked it, the more I wanted to improve. The more I improved, the more ambitious I got. The more ambitious I got, the more interesting projects I took on. It was a positive feedback loop. Weeks turned into a month turned into a year. I was creating my own path, a path that over the next 7 years led me to go beyond graphic design, into designing interfaces, apps, products, and experiences. It became a profession that took me to fascinating places, companies, to different countries, and to meet interesting people. In hindsight, 2 things were crucial. One was that I didn't let the fact that I didn't know how to do something stop me. 2, it was that I just started doing things, for example, making that poster. I am still on that path. I don't have it figured out, and I don't know where it's going to take me. But that's the fun part. In many sense, the origin story of that poster became that reminder to always choose option C, which is to do something about it, with that it being your time and energy. Use it to figure out something that interests you, or something that needs fixing in your life. Put your energy towards something. Put 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year into it. Learning something new is not going to be easy. But hey, what's the fun in having everything easy? You see, what Steve Jobs didn't say was that innate passion doesn't just show up. Instead of trying to conjure up an ideal direction, start by doing something. Start by doing anything. If life is an ocean and you are a ship, always remember that you can't get anywhere if you aren't moving. It sounds obvious, but it's much easier to find new and interesting places and steer towards them when you're moving. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please be sure to subscribe.